Hey everyone, welcome to Gaming in the Keats. I'm your host Chris, and I'm bringing you another battle report today. Um, our gaming group, Titans of Ninth, are going to be doing an event in November hosted by one of our clubmates, Chris Wynn. And unfortunately, I cannot make this event. I'm going to be out of state, but I figured I'm going to at least get in some games to help with everyone who can do it in person, get some practice games in. So that's what we're doing today, and we're also playing at the venue itself. And so there's a venue out in Westminster, Maryland, called Bazooka, the gaming store there. And so it's actually a pretty massive venue, all things considered, and it's about a 45-minute drive for me personally. So that's not actually too bad, all things considered. um, so it looks like that could be the new potential gaming spot for our club in general. Um, but yeah, really excited to try out this new venue. And to just get some more in-person games in. And yes, you read the title correctly. We're going with Tergon Khan, Season Pack 2 legendary demon character. I can't wait to use Tergon and see how they do on the battlefield. So that being said, let's get into the list. So my list for today is going to continue to include the Miser. I mean, this model is just so good. Like, it basically, yeah, evocation basically just solves all your problems, and the Miser being resistance to everything in the front arc is just pretty awesome. Um, so a very, very tanky character that can put out a lot of range damage if need be. And then I'm trying out the Demon legendary character, Tergon Khan. It has to be the general. And I put him on a Great Beast of Prophecy. Tergon Special, Great Beast of Prophecy here. Needs a name, I think, at some point. Tergon can only take Divination. So I've gone with Foresight, Chance of Redemption, and the Stars of Line. Um, you'll see in my opponent's list that I'm going to choose to switch out the Stars of Line. I'll tell you my reasoning in a moment. I'm going to try out the Magic Missile for Divination, which, to be honest, I don't really like it, but I just wanted to give it a shot and see if it could do anything this game. But yeah, Tergon Khan is basically an Omen of Savar on a Great Beast of Prophecy. This legendary character is meant to kill characters. Um, it's interesting. It has like zeal towards dragons. Interestingly enough, it's like a very like anti-fly unit. So you get to once per game you get to pick an opponent's enemy unit with fly and then have their mobility, which is it's kind of cute. Um, I think the other thing that makes Tergon so great is that it gets all the rules, like the manifestations of pride, and it gives, I believe it's the dominant guiding bronze backbone. So whatever unit Tergon's in has the rerolls to hit in the first round of combat, or first strike hatred, I should say. So that's how I interpreted that, as well as um, you can pick two units with either mounted or height 2 and give them Vanguard. Vanguard 3 inches, which is pretty that's that's pretty awesome when Turgon's in like a unit of Brazen Beasts. So I love it. I think it's a fun, flavorful character. It's this list was going to be similar to the list I was going to take for the tournament. However, I my list would have, instead of having Turgon, I would have just had the Kalima with the guiding Venom Sacs and put the Kalima in a unit of Myrmidons. But everything else is basically what or not unit of Myrmidons, excuse me, Eidolons. Um, to do that poison shooting. But this is more of a fun list that I wanted to just try out. So yeah, we got just 2 times 23 Myrmidons, 1 with piercing spike, so extra AP, 1 with unhinging jaw. So rerolls to wound against height 3 to 5. We got 4 brazen beasts with incendiary ichor. I've been enjoying this unit. It's it's not the best in terms of zoning and threat range, because you have things like threshing engines, which are charge 10, or like you can do this with clawed fiends, which charge 9, agility 6, with also incendiary ichor if you want that flaming aegis. But I'm just liking the brazen beasts, and I have the models. Like, the whole point of this list is that I don't have to do any hobbying. I have all the models here, which is great. We got 5 hoarders. I've been loving hoarders right now. They've just been my steadfast unit that have just tanked and done a lot of work in each game. Doing a hope harvester again, engine of damnation, because I have the model. I have the big, awesome, winged, Dark Souls 2 boss model, and I just want to put it on the table again. And yeah, I do like the shooting attacks that does, and at the end of the day, it's also a big monster with 9 wounds, and causes terror, and you have to kind of deal with it at some point. And then we have 5 Furies with kaleidoscopic flesh. I had 10 points left over, so I just figured, I'll just give them a little bit of protection against shooting. Into my opponent's list. Alright, so the Anarch Archmage, we got Master of Alchemy, which, yeah, that's tough. Master of Alchemy is just really awesome right now. And it's the reason why I have Brazens with Incendiary Ichor, because you got Alchemy, you got Queen's Guard in our meta, you got a lot of Pyromancy in our meta, so just having a Flaming Aegis is really valuable in my opinion at the moment. He's got an Ancient Plaque, so he rerolls a failed attempted cast each turn. He's got this ridiculous Smokestone, so he can pop that once per game, and then his units get maximized flee distance, and my units get minimized pursue, which is pretty awesome. And then he's got Invasive Mastery here, got Farseeing and Invasive, and I purposely didn't take, not Stars Align, it was Chance of Redemption. I purposely didn't take Chance of Redemption because I did not want to give my opponent the ability to steal my spell and to get divine attacks against me. Granted, I do have to cast it, but there is no real reason for me to take Chance of Redemption because my opponent's list, as you can see here, doesn't really have any Aegis saves. He's got the Skink Veteran on a Taurosaur with Touch of Greatness. This model puts out so many attacks for 495 points. This guy just does a lot of work. I think in total, it's my opponent was calculating out with 9 strength 6 attacks. When you include the dinosaur, you include the skink with Touch of Greatness and a halberd. It was just ridiculous. Something around that area of attacks. He's also got the special character Shade and Stone, which is really cool. So he can do this thing where units within 8 inches of get +1 to their fortitude save, which is pretty nice. And he's like a Cayman Ancient, so he's pretty awesome in combat. He's got the Skink Rider on top, which I think is really cool. We got 8 Cayman Warriors with halberds this time. 20 Tegu Warriors, just with an Aether icon and shield and sword and board there. So they have parry. 12 Skink Hunters for harassing. 10 Raptor Riders with a rending banner. And these guys have halberds. So these Raptor Riders, I think innately just have halberds. It looks like, at least that's what my opponent was playing with at the time. And then we got 12 Tegu Mystics, Fountain of Youth, yeah, it's awesome. Foresight, great. And they're like the mobile BSB unit with the Corostone. We got 6 Ramphadon riders to like just do a lot of damage to my infantry, harass my flanks, and they're a very fast unit. And then we got for 200 points, 3 Tergon riders to round out my opponent's list for chaffing purposes and dropping some rocks here and there. Alright, so we're doing with the new, again, Season Pack 2, so we got the map 9G of Tafria, which is pretty cool. We had the refused flank, so we did the diagonal deployment, which is going to make for a very close combat-oriented matchup here. And both myself and my opponent actually have like my opponent has more than me, but we both have some pretty potent range damage options in terms of our magic phases. We drew up Divide and Conquer, so basically the board is divided up into 4 quarters. I really like this one. This one was actually a lot of fun to play, and so you have this 18-inch sort of null zone, so you can't have a scoring unit in this null zone in order to count for holding any of these quarters, and you basically have to have a scoring unit in one of these quarters going into at the ends of round 3 through 6. So already my list has a slight advantage because I have more scoring than my opponent. I have 4 units versus he has 3. And then I drew up Assassinate, which I thought was just I purposely picked Assassinate. My opponent purposely picked Slay the Beast when we did our secondaries. So he chose, of course, you have to take the Miser and the Hope Harvester as one of his 2 options for slaying the beast. So he's going to probably try and take out that Hope Harvester. And then for me, Assassinate, I think it makes sense. I can go for the Frog, I can go for the Torosaur, or I can go for Shade and Stone. So I really am hoping that I can get Tergon Khan into one of those characters and just take him out. I think that would be pretty epic. So my opponent chose sides in the diagonal, so we're going, of course, this way, as you can see here. And so I just decided to drop for first. My reasoning being is, since I do have the advantage on the primary, I wanted to personally take board control of 3 quarters and force my opponent to kind of react to me and put pressure with range damage turn 1. You could also make the argument that like going second in missions like this might actually be beneficial, but at the same time, knowing my opponent's list, I really want to get the jump on my opponent with the first round of range damage and magic missiles onto any of his characters right here, because that's very important, because I know my opponent's list actually outranges me just in terms of its damage output for the magic missiles against me. So I wanted to, again, put pressure on my opponent. Left to right, so we got the little blue rubber band. These are the piercing spike myrmidons off to the far side. Like I said, I dropped for first. So then I dropped the Hope Harvester and the Miser in the center because we have that sort of 18-inch circle null zone to not have a scoring unit. We have the Unhinging Jaw marked by the red band. Myrmidons right here in the back. My thought process here is I'm going to reform them and actually start covering this area here, depending on what my opponent put down. We have the Furies in the back with the Miser. We have the Brazen Beasts right here with Tergon Khan. He's just chilling right here. And then we have my Hoarders just chilling out with the water feature right here. They are Strider, so I'm going to take advantage of that. My opponent drops, here's the Pterodons that have already vanguarded. We have the Knights Raptor Riders onto this side, which I'm very happy about. Dropping the Piercing Spike Myrmidons here, I was hoping to draw the Knights onto this side to have to deal with dangerous terrains with the ruins and the water, and hopefully the hoarders can kind of like tank the initial charge from them, was my thought process. We have the Caimans right here in the ruins. We have the Saurus with the Anarch Archmage. We have the Mystics right here. We have the Taurosaur. We have Shade and Stone chilling out behind the rock. We got the Ramphidon riders off to start harassing my left flank, and then we also have some more light troops with the Skink Hunters right here. So in my turn 1, I don't move up terribly aggressively. I'm just outside of charge ranges for these units here. I'm happy about that. Outside of charge range of the Taurosaur, I'm moving the Unhinging Jaw Myrmidons, reforming them and looking them out, facing them out this way to stop any potential aggression from the Taurosaur coming in. I'm very happy about that. I'm backing up as much as I can, kind of with these Piercing Spark Myrmidons, just trying to cover as much as I can. I know he has light troops. I know he can probably outmaneuver this unit, but that's why I'm keeping this unit here to hopefully cover them as well. This guy is the Big Hope Harvester. He's going to be trying to shoot at the Pterodons. Same with the Miser. I'm going to try and magic missile them off so I don't have to deal with chaff. And then just moving up, creating my battle line right here. I am in charge range of the Knights right here with the Hoarders, but I think I gave him a 6. And if he does, he will have to take dangerous terrains for that. Right now I'm in 3 quarters at the moment. So we've got, right here we got the Hoarders in quarter. In this quarter right here, we got the Myrms basically roughly on this quarter. And then we got the Myrmidons on this side onto my far left corner here. So really putting pressure on my opponent to try and take back those, the primary if he can. Yep, and so in Magic, unfortunately, I get a low Magic phase. My opponent saves all his dice to stop Soul Blight. I only get 1 wound off with Touch of the Reaper, and then I don't do any wounds, of course, with Fate's Judgment onto this unit. And then, unfortunately, the Hope Harvester can only take out only takes out 1 Pterodon. Which is not great in terms of shooting. I rolled pretty well on the number of shots, but then I just failed to wound, which kind of sucked. And my opponent also bossed some really nice fortitude saves, because these guys have a fortitude. So, and you can also see here with the Furies, this could have been a mistake here, but basically I was trying to anticipate my opponent dropping rocks and landing in behind my lines here, and so the Furies are angled in a way to say, if you choose to do this, I'm going to charge you with Furies. So that was my thought process right here. Okay, my opponent's turn 1. He shuffles his lineup. As you can see, he activates his chaff, which I'm happy about. He does drop a rock and does, I think, 2 wounds, maybe a wound onto the Brazens right here. And so he's staying outside of my charge range with the Hope Harvester and the Miser. He's staying outside of the Hope Harvester's charge range, but he's getting within his own with the Taurosaur. And yeah, just creating a nice little battle line right here. Skinks are going to be chilling right now because they don't want to get shot by the Hope Harvester, and the Ramphidons move up aggressively, staying outside of my charge range. These guys have a pretty, I think they're charge 8 or 9, so these guys are not concerned about the Myrmidons right now. And then if they do charge, then they'd be going before me. So that's a good matchup for the Ramphidons right there, and I just kind of have to deal with it. In my opponent's Magic phase, interestingly enough, he focuses all his attention on the Hope Harvester, and with a combination of different armor saves, because the Hope Harvester has armor 3. He has a 4+ armor save, and then a 5-up Aegis. I actually boss all my saves from the incoming magic damage coming in, which was pretty awesome, not going to lie. And you're going to start seeing this trend with both myself and my opponent on rolling some pretty clutch saves. Spoiler alert. Okay, my turn too. So I do end up charging the Brazens into the Pterodons to get rid of them. I move the Furies to get in front of the Caimans. Because of the way that I had angled the Furies to kind of counter my opponent from getting behind me, I didn't actually have the movement to be able to chaff both the Knights and the Caimans. So you could argue that that was probably maybe a mistake on my part, because ideally I'm chaffing both units because they're so close together. Yeah, that was kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. But I at least have the Hoarders here lined up to support the Brazen Beasts and vice versa, depending on which unit he chooses to charge. If he obviously, I think, wants to choose the Brazens for charging with the Knights, because if he charges the Hoarders, he's going to be disrupted. He has to take DTs. Hoarders are Strider, and I have parry. So it's just not ideal for him to take the Hoarders and then get countered by the Brazens, since he doesn't have any other form of chaff. So I think he's just going to, if he either has to back up or go for a long charge into the Brazens. And then, yeah, on this side, I'm staying outside of charge range of the Taurosaur. The Hope Harvester is now going to line up to start shooting at the Tegumistics. These guys here are going to support the incoming charge from the Ramphidons. I can't avoid that charge, so I'm just making sure I've backed up in a way where I'm keeping the Shade and Stone and the Taurosaur outside of charge range. So the only thing that can actually charge the Myrmidons with Piercing Spike are the Ramphidons. And so now at least we have the Unhinging Jaw Myrmidons ready to countercharge, because I don't believe he's going to pop the unit, so I have at least a turn to counter. And then from there, my thought process would be to actually switch spots, because this unit is most likely going to be depleted, so I'm just going to back them up and start having them stay in my sort of back quarter zone, and help win me that primary, and sort of switch places with the Unhinging Jaw. In Magic and Shooting, this was wild. So I get through both Soul Blight and Touch of the Reaper onto the Taurosaur. My opponent fails to stop Touch of the Reaper. Or sorry, my opponent fails to stop Soul Blight, and I get both off onto the Taurosaur and bring him down to 1 wound remaining. And the Hope Harvester shoots, gets 2 wounds, and my opponent rolls both an armor save and a fortitude save from this stupid guy right here to save the damn Taurosaur on 1 wound remaining. I was like, no, damn it. I also, for safety purposes, I get distracting off on the Brazen Beasts to just hopefully deter an incoming charge from the Knights. So, yeah, that's how we're looking there. Alright, so I have to take the charge from the Ramphidons. Couldn't really avoid it, but my opponent chooses to go in. That is what it is. My opponent chooses to clear the chaff. I think he takes a wound from dangerous terrains here from the Caimans. My opponent does have to... I think I could have done this actually a bit... No, probably not. I think I did my best to angle the Brazens in a way where, like, if he charged in, he might have to contact the water, but the water is actually, it looks like it's back this way. So that didn't quite work out. And my opponent does actually make this charge. He needed a 5 on Swift Stride. It's 50-50, and he got it. So that's gonna be interesting. But I'm hoping Tergon Khan can, like, kill a few Knights before he actually goes to swing. So yeah, and then on my opponent's turn, I let go Awaken the Beast off on this unit, and I stop +1 to hit onto this unit. And and my opponent gets through a Quicksilver Lash onto the big guy right here, and I show my opponent, hey, too, I can also make Aegis saves, and I block all the incoming damage onto the Hope Harvester, which was pretty wild. And whew, combats. Okay, so these guys don't do too well, actually. I only end up killing one model, and maybe I think I put 2 wounds on another. And he just like rips me apart, but because I'm still steady, I actually only lose by 2 anyway, and he's light troops. So everyone sticks around, no problem. I'm happy about that. And then here, this is wild. This unit puts out an insane number of attacks. Like, it's like 30 attacks. And so I was very happy that I had distracting up on the Brazen Beasts, because that was wild. And Tergon Khan takes care of the back rank. Very good. Nicely done. And then my opponent whiffs pretty hard on his to-hit rolls. I also bossed some clutch Aegis saves, and so this is actually after Crumble, so I'm pretty happy, all things considering, and I'm hoping I can just outgrind this unit, and I have a nice counter charge with the Hoarders my next turn. So all in all, I'm pretty happy about this situation. Okay, so my turn 3. Hoarders charge the flank of the Knights, yay, and then the Unhinging Jaw Myrmidons charge the flank of the Ramphidons. I need a 10 to get into this unit here of Skinks, but I only need a 6 to get out of line of sight of this guy. So my goal is to maybe see if I can get lucky on that overrun, hit this unit, and clear them out. Here it probably could have been a bit more... should have been a bit wiser about this situation. So yeah, I'm in charge range of the Taurosaur, but I'm choosing to like shuffle to kind of cover the center line more. But yeah, it's if I don't kill the Taurosaur, then I at least have it so that he's gonna have to take dangerous terrains when he charges me, which might just kill him outright, which is hopefully that's what happens. The Miser's also facing out this way to countercharge in case he does come into the Hope Harvester. So, yes, I'm pretty hopeful, all things considered. Yeah, and then in the magic phase, my opponent lets through Touch of the Reaper. I take out the Taurosaur, thank goodness. So Taurosaur's dead. I get off rerolls to hit onto this unit here. However, my opponent, I failed distracting as well onto this unit. I failed distracting, and my opponent stopped Spectral Blades onto the Hoarders. So I have a rerolls to hit onto this unit, but that's it. And you'll see what happens in the combat next. So here, as expected, the Unhinging Jaw Myrmidons clean up the Ramphidon Riders, yay. So there was still like maybe 1 model left, but I break them and run them down. But I don't make the overrun here. I rolled an 8, but luckily I rolled high enough to get out of line of sight of Shade and Stone because I only needed a 6. And so I reformed these guys here. So this was insane. So freaking 5 of these guys. Oh my god. Okay. So Tergon Khan goes. I roll max number of attacks. I roll so that's 6 attacks. I get 5 wounds through, and my opponent makes every single armor save. And then this unit proceeds to just like go back and kill the Brazen Beasts outright. Like with only 5 models. And then a Hoarder like happens to take out like 2 of them or something. With AP 0. Basically, I lose combat because this unit of Raptor Knights just went nuts. And hit and wounded with everything onto my brazen beasts and just killed them. And so, like, luckily, I don't crumble any more. I make my leadership checks with discipline 10 on this guy. But I was just like, holy crap. That was insane. So my opponent was like, you make all your Aegis saves, I'll make all my armor saves. That's totally fine. So at the end, I actually reform this unit here. I'm able to do it. I pass my command check, and I reform the Hoarders, slide them down so the Caimans don't have a charge onto the Hoarders. Or I think they do. They need like a 5 or maybe even a 6, and he'd only get like 1 Caiman in contact with the Hoarder unit. So it was not like it wasn't looking good for my opponent in terms of wanting to countercharge the Hoarders, especially if Tergon Khan actually cleans up the Knights. So my opponent punishes me on his turn 3 for a mistake I made. I gave the Caimans a 5 to charge into the Miser. Granted, I wasn't too concerned about it, but the real mistake is that I didn't have the Hope Harvester angled in a way to be able to support the Miser. So that's more of the bigger mistake here. So my opponent needed a 5 on a single dice, and he made it. So he made the damn charge. Granted, he is going through a wall, so he's -1 to hit me. But then we just realized later that the Miser's defensive 7 anyway, so the Caimans don't have Tooth and Claw. These are the Halberd variants. So they hit me on 5s anyway, so the wall actually makes no difference here. So, yeah. In my opponent's magic phase, again, like, he can't get through any magic damage off on the Hope Harvester, but he does get off. I have to let go Word of Iron onto the Caimans, and I think that's all he gets. He does not get Awaken the Beast, because I do stop the +1 to hit from the Caimans here. Okay, so in this round of combat, Tergon Khan is just like, nah, you're not going to make your armor saves again, and he just takes out the unit himself. So, good job, buddy. However, he's effectively blocking the Hoarders from countercharging, which is just sort of an unfortunate position on my part. That was a bit of a mistake there. But, and then here, the Miser just tanks it. Miser's just like, nah, we don't care. My opponent gets very few hits off, and then the wounds he gets through, he has to re-roll them, and he doesn't get a single wound through. In turn, the Mirrored Scales actually causes him to hurt himself, which is great. So I kill a model. And it ends up being, let's see, he has a banner, a charge, 2 ranks. I have a rank, and then I do 2 wounds. So I lose by 1, and I stick. No problem. Okay, so my turn 4. I don't have any counter charges, unfortunately, into the Caimans here, so I just have to reposition things. So I reposition the Hope Harvester to see the Caimans. I reposition the Hoarders to, again, see the Caimans and not give my opponent a charge here with the Mystics. And then this was a mistake on my part. I thought this guy ended up having light troops, so I moved him out this way to reform and look at the Caimans here, but he actually doesn't. My opponent let me correct this later on, so this guy actually needs to be a lot closer, probably right around in this area here. But the intention here was to back away, but to look at the Caimans, so I can at least countercharge with Tergon. Onto my left side, I reformed the Myrmidons to try and cut off all the angles that the Skinks can go, because they're light troops and I don't have a musician. And then this unit is just reforming this way again to cover that angle so they can't come out of my line of sight. I know that the Skinks are probably just going to pepper and pick on this unit, but if he wants to do that, I have it so that he still will have to present himself a charge from the Myrmidons here. So in the magic phase, I actually make a bit of a mistake. I don't know what I was thinking here, but I got off distracting onto the miser, which doesn't matter in this instance because he's already defense 7 anyway, so my opponent's hitting me on 5s. For some reason, I kept thinking these Caimans are the Tooth and Claw version in my head because my opponent usually plays that type of Caiman unit, but no, this is the Halberd variant, so yeah, that was just a mistake on my part, magic-wise. And my opponent, of course, stopped Spectral Blades onto the Miser here. And yeah, that's where you have it. So yeah, this time in the magic phase, because of, me only having distracting up and not really many offensive buffs, yeah, I actually just crumble a bit because I only took a wound, but I failed my discipline check and I lost by 2 at this point. So unfortunately, I take 2 extra wounds. So I'm like a little concerned for the miser at the moment because it's my opponent's turn next and he gets his magic phase. So I'm like, oh god. Alright, so it's my opponent's turn 4. He moves the skinks to start peppering the remaining piercing spike myrmidons. He moves up the Saurian warriors to start supporting here. Same with the mystics, just trying to keep a BSB. I think maybe perhaps he could have moved the mystics a bit closer to the Caimans to give them a reroll for their leadership check. I think that might have been what I would have done, but I think he was worried about the Hope Harvester just countercharging them. So I understand why they're back here as well. Yeah, in my opponent's magic phase, he gets off, this sucked, he gets off both Word of Iron, and then he also gets Awaken the Beast off on the, on the Caimans. So I'm like, oh man, come on, Miser, I need you to hold on. So Mirrored Scales helping out a little bit, which is nice because he kills himself and he kills a model, but in the process I take another 2 wounds and I'm like, oh no, the miser only has 2 remaining. So I'm like really hoping he doesn't just kill the miser in my next turn, with all my counter charges. So I'm just like crossing my fingers at this rate. Alright, my turn 5. I countercharge with Tergon and the Hoarders, but I actually choose to hold with the Hope Harvester. Just because I didn't want to just send this, because of how big his base is, I didn't want to send this guy so close where then he just gets countercharged and then my opponent gets a secondary and then maybe slingshots himself into my backfield But currently, as the primary stands, I've been winning the primary now. I have 2 little treasure tokens there. I do charge the skinks. I lose 1 to stand and shoot, so really not that bad. Yeah, and then in my magic phase, my opponent saves all his dice to stop Spectral Blades again on the Hoarders. I get a rerolls to hit off of... wait, what do I get off? No, I get a rerolls to hit on the Hoarders. That's what it is. And I also get a -1 resilience off on the Caimans. So all in all, a very good magic phase. But shooting doesn't... I think I kill like a mystic. So good try, buddy. You're holding down the center. That's what I need you to do right now. But yeah, combats. So all said and done, the miser does not take any more wounds, thank God. Tergon Khan comes in, saves the day. I kill the 2... I mean, it's a 1-up armor save still, so, like, I kill 2 of the Caiman warriors. This is where my opponent fails his break check, and then he chooses to pop his smokestone. So I'm, like, minimized all over the place, and he's maximized, so he gets away. I do choose to chase, I think with the Hoarders, I was... Yeah, and with Tergon at that rate. because I knew that if he gets away, he's just going to be blocking himself from countercharging with these units here, and then the only charge that he does have will be with the warriors into the hoarders, and from that point, I'm actually feeling pretty confident that the hoarders will just like be able to tie up these warriors for a turn, and plus that also means he won't be able to do his magic missiles anymore against me if he's in combat with the hoarders. So I'm okay with that. So all things considered, like, I'm feeling pretty good. Okay, opponent's turn 5. As you can see, also my Myrmidons cleaned up the skinks, no problem. I did have to break them and chase them, but I did catch them, thank goodness. But yeah, his turn 5, he moves over his mystics to just take the remaining points, which is just, it kind of sucks, but like, I can't really get away from them now. They're such a, they're a mobile unit that can just easily get these points. But yeah, oh gosh, and then my opponent just moves, he just fans out as best as he can, with the Shade and Stone and the Tegu Warriors. Oh man, and then in the magic phase, oh, this is such a bummer. My opponent forces through a Quicksilver Lash on the Miser, and then he gets the 2 wounds he needs, even with the resistance from the front arc facing. He gets the 2 wounds he needs. I fail both my Aegis saves, and he takes out the Miser, so that's a big point swing. But so that actually equals things up pretty nicely there on terms of points, and he gets a secondary here. So at least I have my secondary as well from taking out that Taurosaur, but now that's like a much bigger point swing here with the Miser being gone. So I'm like, damn it, no. So on my final turn, he did rally with the Caimans in his previous turn, so I can show you the order of operations here. I first charge the Hope Harvester into the flank of the Caimans, and this rate he just chooses to flee, so he flees to this position here, as you can see, and then I charge the Hoarders in, as you can see here, into the Caimans to clean them up, because you can only make 1 flee move. There was a potential option to charge into the Warriors with Tergon, and hopefully get an overrun with the, oh my god, the Hoarders, to do that combat all in the same round. However, when my opponent and I figured it out, the Hoarders actually bump into the back of the base of Tergon, so that just doesn't make sense. And, like, it's just that idea just wouldn't work. Is what it is. So we decided to not charge Tergon, and oh gosh, using the eraser tool. Oh, come on, to not charge Tergon and just charge the Hoarders in, and then my plan here with the Hoarders is to just overrun them into the Saurian Warriors to make sure that he can't magic missile Tergon off in the next turn. And here it's only like, I think it's like a 4 or 5. It's actually pretty close. It looks a lot farther, but yeah, it's roughly around like a 5-inch overrun here. So that meant Tergon could not take out Shade and Stone. Unfortunately, in the magic phase, now that the Miser's gone, I get a +2 offense-defense onto the Hoarders, and my opponent stops, rerolls to hit. My opponent does let go through the magic missile, Fate's Judgment, onto Shade and Stone, because he wants to be able to steal it in case I miss that overrun. And I get through 5 wounds on this guy, and my opponent makes every save. Ah, damn it. So Fate's Judgment does absolutely nothing. So this guy has like a 3-up, 5-up. So, and then with Fate's Judgment, it's just AP1, so it's like a 4-up, 5-up. And he just tanks all of his saves. So I was like, crap. No, good try, Tergon. So, and then yeah, I did position Tergon in a way where if he did want to charge Shade and Stone into Tergon, he's going to be a -1 to hit with the wall. And then Hope Harvester, unfortunately, doesn't do anything again to the Mystics, but hey, he looks cool. So that's the point there. So on my opponent's turn 6, yeah, he charges the Myrmidons. There's really nothing I could have done at that rate after I committed to the Skinks, so I just kind of had to accept their fate. I did try and have it so that, again, trying to use the wall ability to maybe make it better, like give me a chance of surviving. So they're -1 to hit again. Yeah, Shade and Stone comes into the flank of the Hoarders, so, like, we'll see how that goes. Basically, my opponent in the Magic phase, he gets off another Word of Iron off on the Saurian Warriors, and then he also gets off Awaken the Beast, which kind of sucks, because I have to stop the +1 to hit, because Hoarders have parry, but they're offense defense 7 now anyway. So his Saurian Warriors are actually hitting me on 5s, which is pretty nice. But yeah, just gonna have to take it and see how it goes. And wow, so I think I misspoke earlier. Hoarders are now at offense 5, but they're defense 7 with the foresight up from divination. And that really helped them out a lot, to be honest, because the Saurian Warriors kind of whiffed pretty hard here. And same with Shade and Stone. He just like couldn't really get through the chonkiness of the Hoarders. So like, yeah, like I crumble a little bit. He kills a model, crumble a little bit, but I don't crumble enough to actually lose the unit or lose half points for the unit. So all things said and done, Hoarders doing their job, just being assholes and surviving. So that's it. That's the end of the game, and there you have it. And everything said and done, it ends up being a Demon Legion's victory solely on the primary. So it's a 13-7. Both my opponent and I got our secondaries, and we both had it was a 10-10 in terms of victory points. So playing for the primary, like going first, I think in the way that I did it, I think really played to my advantage here. So yeah, thank you so much, Mike, for the game. That was a lot of fun. I hadn't played Mike in quite a while, so it was really nice to just be able to just have an awesome opponent across the table and a good friend, and just have a good time at a new store. So thank you. And for the macro side of things, post-game thoughts, all that stuff, like I said earlier, going first in this particular situation, I felt helped me control the primary, and it forced my opponent to react to me instead, which is great. Both of our Magic phases had some pretty massive impact into the game, and really helped swing those combats one way or the other. They were pretty important, and then being able to take out like key targets like the Taurosaur, for example, and the threat of my opponent actually having that range damage against my single models was also very, very prevalent. I think I could have played just as a whole, perhaps more conservatively with the points once I knew that I had secured the primary, and try and save, for example, the Myrmidons. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the macro approach of the game that I took. With micro things, both my opponent and I were just like rolling pretty hot for our Aegis saves and armor saves. Like units were like, we were getting the wounds through to like do a lot of damage, but then we're just both denying each other those wounds, which is pretty hilarious. I think I could have done a better position with my Furies to block both the Knights and the Caimans from being able to even charge the Brazens. So that's my fault there. And then just like being more familiar with the Miser, of course, and knowing my opponent's list in relation to the Miser, because I think would have affected my spell choices and of what I was putting onto the miser. We also had some positioning errors with the Hope Harvester as well, and not supporting like the miser as well as I could have. So again, getting used to these bigger models that are no longer light troops onto the table is still a process. So there you have it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, for making it this far. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Greatly appreciate it. Comment, just be active, and I'll make sure to try and respond to your comments. And yeah, I just appreciate you for just being here and enjoying this awesome game that we play. So thank you again, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Ciao, ciao for now, y'all.